The abyssal rift loomed like a wound in the stars, a jagged swath of space where light bent wrong and ships went to die. Admiral Alara Knox stood at the bridge of the Aegis Valor, her eyes fixed on the hollow vastness ahead. She'd studied countless reports, simulations, and deep space hazards, but nothing prepared her for the silence. It wasn't the quiet of calm, but the stillness of a place where nothing should live. Behind her, Earth's newly formed Horizon fleet stretched across the void. 12 ships, each forged from the best humanity could offer. Compact, versatile, and untested in the field. And now they sailed into the dark, not for conquest or diplomacy, but to prove they could survive where none expected them to. Her officers said little. Tension was a constant pressure, like the artificial gravity trying too hard to keep them grounded. Commander Reyes, her second-in-command, broke the silence with a hushed voice. Long-range sensors are picking up gravitational shear, irregular but patterned. Alara didn't answer right away. She scanned the readouts, noting the erratic data spikes. Varnathi, signatures? Reyes hesitated. Not yet. But it's a corridor. Something's cleared a path. Alara's jaw tightened. The Varnathi were supposed to be extinct, apex predators from forgotten war. The Alliance claimed their hive worlds had collapsed centuries ago, but rumors clung to them like radiation to old wreckage. Proceed, she said. Full sensor sweep. Keep the fleet in formation. Elsewhere, cloaked in a shadow-folded observation vessel, Warlord Sithrek of the Zarkai watched. The alien's crimson eyes flared, reflecting data on a holographic screen as human ships maneuvered with calculated precision. His scaled hands curled, not in anger, but in reconsideration. These Terrans were not flailing primitives, as his council believed. They adapted. He watched one of their smaller frigates use a slingshot maneuver around a rogue asteroid, converting gravitational force into a flawless kinetic boost. He hissed low in thought. They learn in motion. Back aboard the Aegis Valor, Alara stood in her ready room, staring at the holographic star map. 12 ships. Not enough. Not for what might be waiting. Earth had sent them not only to map the rift, but to prove something to themselves, to the galaxy, and to the silent judgment of the other species who thought humanity soft. But her mission wasn't just about pride. She tapped her console. Knox to engineering. A voice crackled. Lieutenant Sue here. Prepare the solar veil deployers. If that gravity well acts up, I want to ghost right through it. Yes, ma'am. Alara cut the comms. She trained her crew on improvisation, knowing the rift would demand creativity over protocol. That decision, now more than ever, felt like their best weapon. The first attack came without warning. Sensors flared, lights dimmed, and half the fleet screens went dark in a blink. From the rift's edge, sleek, tendril-laced ships emerged, living things of black chitin and iridescent glow. The Varnathi had returned. The Argon Lance, farthest from the flagship, took the first hit. One moment it drifted steady, the next it spun, venting fire and bodies into the vacuum. No shields raised, no warning given. Evasive, Alara barked. Deploy countermeasures. Her fleet scattered, weaving between asteroid fields and gravity eddies. Drones launched from the Aegis Valor, creating a decoy trail of heat and ion signatures. The Varnathi chased. Their ships moved like beasts, not machines, twisting in impossible arcs, feeding on the energy signatures of their prey. Alara's hands danced across the console. Bring them into the red crescent formation. Use the moons of debris cluster 3 to arc them. It worked. The Varnathi pursued the decoys through the cluster, unaware of the trap. From the far side, 3 Terran cruisers emerged in a perfect V, unleashing synchronized railgun fire. One Varnathi ship burst apart, the rest reeled. In the observer ship, Sithrek rose to his feet. They're not just surviving, he said, almost to himself. They are hunting. The remaining swarm regrouped. They had learned too. One of the creatures latched onto the hull of the Resolute Dawn, breaching its reactor housing with bladed limbs. Knox didn't hesitate. Remote detonation now. The Dawn exploded in a controlled pulse, destroying the parasite and denying the enemy a kill. Silence fell across the comms for a breathless moment. Then, no survivors. But the fleet holds. Ilara's face gave nothing away. She mourned later. Always later. The battle raged for another hour. But with each passing minute, Earth's fleet moved as one, adjusting, analyzing, responding faster. Their tactics didn't rely on overwhelming firepower, but synergy, adaptation. AI co-pilots relayed options in real time. Sensor drones fed neural learning matrices that updated strategies on the fly. What Earth lacked in ancient tech or interstellar pedigree, it made up for in ruthless innovation. Finally, the last Varnathi ship, crippled and spewing fluids, drifted toward the edge of a black hole. Ilara gave no order. It vanished into darkness. Breathing heavy, Reyes turned to her. "We just beat them." "No," she said. "We survived them." And that, she knew, was more important. Because survival was something the galaxy respected. Not a grand victory, but endurance against the impossible. Sithrek's ship broke, cloak hours later. The alien commander hailed her directly. His voice was gravel and thunder. "You've bled well, Admiral Knox." She studied the reptilian visage on her screen. "And we're not finished yet." His mandibles twitched in what might have been a smile. "Then let us see how deep you can go." The transmission ended. Around them, the rift opened wider. Humanity had stepped into its jaws and still stood. And somewhere, beyond even their instruments' reach, something else watched. The docking clamps locked into place with a low metallic groan, echoing through the hull of the Aegis Valor. Ilara Knox stood motionless on the forward bay ramp, eyes fixed on the Zarkai dreadnought ahead. Vraxtor, a floating cathedral of obsidian plating and red glowing ridges. She was flanked by two officers, each armed and armored, though the gesture felt more symbolic than practical. The Zarkai didn't respect fear. They respected presence. A hiss of atmosphere, a shimmer of fields. The ramp lowered. Warlord Sithrek stood at the end of it, taller than the average man by 2 heads, his scaled armor a seamless fusion of flesh and technology. He carried no weapon, only the authority of his gait and the weight of generations behind his gaze. "You walk with confidence," he said, voice rough but measured, for someone who dances at the edge of extinction. Ilara descended without pause. Humanity has been at that edge since it first looked up at the stars. We've just learned how to dance better. The warlord gave no outward sign of amusement, but his stance relaxed a fraction. Around them, Zarkai warriors stood in silent ranks, sharp-eyed, stone-faced. Earth's officers felt their gazes like heat. No words passed between the guards. The entire ritual was posturing, and both leaders knew it. Inside the dreadnought's core chamber, they gathered around a holographic projection of the region known as the Nebula Maze, a chaotic cloud of ion storms and gas pockets where the Varnathi swarm had recently been spotted establishing new hives. It was suicide to fly through it alone, even more so to engage anything inside it. Yet here they were. Sithrek gestured to a blinking signature deep in the maze. "This infestation grows. In days, it will multiply and spread to the inner band, then to our colonies. Yours too." Ilara nodded. "Then we strike now? Joint fleet. Tactical divide. Earth's ships will navigate the interior, draw the swarm. Your ships form the hammer. You use yourselves as bait. We use ourselves as what we are: unpredictable." Sithrek studied her again, this time not like prey, but a puzzle. He did not argue. The alliance, fragile and begrudging, had begun. When the two fleets launched side by side, the sight alone was enough to rattle even the most seasoned officers. Zarkai vessels moved like great beasts, pulsing with crimson energy, while Earth's fleet cut sharp angles, small and swift, blades beside clubs. The formations held no beauty. They were designed only for survival. Inside the nebula, everything changed. Ion storms twisted sensors into lies. Colors bled across the spectrum. Navigation became art. But the Earth's ships adapted fast. Aboard the Rising Dawn, Lieutenant Soraya Imani rerouted power from secondary weapons to a newly coded pulse beacon, syncing Earth fleet positions in real time through the static. Within minutes, the ships moved like extensions of each other. Alara stayed on open comms, giving direct visual orders. She didn't trust automated chains out here. She needed to see, to feel the rhythm of the battlefield. Sithrek's forces followed, slower but relentless. When the Varnathi emerged, seething, coiled, ravenous, they descended on the Earth fleet with the same violence as before. But this time, the trap was already set. At Nox's signal, Earth ships plunged into a dense gas pocket, triggering volatile ignition trails. Fire bloomed, light scattering across the enemy. Momentary confusion. Then the Zarkai struck, flanking from the rear, cutting through the stunned swarm with unrelenting force. It wasn't clean. 3 Earth vessels were lost in the initial pass. The Helix, the Mercy Gate, and Kestrel 1. But the formation held, and the swarm began to crumble. In the thick of the chaos, a Varnathi beast latched onto the Zarkai ship Thrakul. Its claws tore into its side, breaching compartments. Aboard, Sithrek fought personally, his presence expected in such times. Surrounded, outnumbered, he moved like a storm, his weapons an extension of instinct. But even he stumbled when the Queenling emerged. Towering, screeching, armored in plates of obsidian chitin, it lunged for the warlord. A sharp, whistling crack, an energy lance fired from high above. The Queenling screeched, wounded. Alara's face appeared on the comms feed. Backs aren't meant for blades, warlord. Sithrek growled, nor are they for trusting. But, well struck, Admiral. Together, they finished the beast. After the battle, the fleets regrouped in orbit around a small, dead moon. The ground beneath it was scorched, littered with the remains of broken hive fragments and dissolving biomatter. Casualties were tallied, damage assessed. It wasn't a victory by old standards, but it was survival. Again, inside a war tent hastily assembled on the moon's surface, Alara and Sithrek met alone. "You fight like creatures born to void and fire," he said, pouring a dark liquid from a bone-shaped vessel into 2 metal cups. "Yet your kind has only just begun." Alara took the drink without flinching. It burned, but she didn't show it. "We've always learned fast. History forced us to." Sithrek considered her. "The old clans will not like this. They see your kind as a challenge to the order. Then let them be challenged." Silence fell between them, but not an uncomfortable one. It was the quiet between 2 warriors who had bled on the same field. Later, as Alara returned to the Aegis Valor, she stood alone in her quarters, replaying fragments of battle footage. Her own voice shouting orders. Screams. Silence. The flash of the Queenling's death. She wasn't sure if they'd won a place in the galaxy, or merely earned a longer war. But Sithrek had called her ally. Not insult, not compliment. Ally. It was a beginning. Above the shattered moon, the stars shimmered. Somewhere beyond them, the rest of the galaxy waited. Watching, measuring, still unsure. Let them. The silence after war was different than before. It wasn't empty. It was loud with ghosts, names etched into steel walls, data logs, and fleeting glances exchanged across crowded command decks. Aboard the Aegis Valor, Admiral Alara Nox felt that weight settle into her bones as the crew prepared for what would likely be their final maneuver through the abyssal rift. The swarm had been broken, but not destroyed. And something deeper stirred now, something neither human nor Zarkai had words for. The rift was changing. Gravitational readings were spiking beyond known patterns, and time drifted erratically in the outermost zones. Ships reported brief moments of total sensory blackouts, where crew swore minutes passed, and yet clocks ticked seconds. Others described dreams they hadn't dreamed, memories they hadn't lived. Reyes approached her on the bridge, his voice low. The AIs showing anomaly patterns across every ship. Neural drift in the co-pilots. Like they're adapting too quickly. Not learning, predicting. Alara narrowed her eyes. Predicting us? He hesitated. No, predicting what we're becoming. She said nothing. It was easier not to name it. The transformation of pressure into instinct. Of desperation into evolution. Hours later, A communication burst through the void, encrypted in Zarkai code. Sithrek's ship had reached the edge of what they were calling the Hollow Pulse, a new anomaly blooming like a black star within the rift. He had sent a message, not a call. Something waits beneath. Not Varnathi, not known. Come if you dare, or turn back and let the past reclaim the future. She read it twice, then once more aloud. No fear, just certainty. Alara summoned the captains of the remaining ships via hologram. Their faces flickered in the dim briefing chamber, some tired, others grim, all waiting. We didn't come out here to survive a battle, she said. We came to prove we could stand where no one else dared. And now, the real test is waiting. What is it? Captain Amani asked. Alara paused. Unknown. Sithrek believes it's ancient. Older than the rift. Maybe older than the stars. A ripple of unease passed through the room. She continued. I won't command anyone into that. We've already paid more than most ever will. But I'm going. Not one captain disconnected. The journey to the Hollow Pulse took them through wreckage fields littered with alien debris, remnants of ships from species Earth hadn't even encountered. The gravitational currents twisted light around them, folding it like paper. No stars shone here, only the glow of instruments and the fire within them. Inside the rift's heart, the Hollow Pulse emerged, not as an object, but a space torn from meaning. A spherical void suspended in nothing, rippling with invisible force. Their instruments failed to measure it, not because it defied physics, but because it seemed to reject observation. The Zarkai were already there. Their ships formed a cautious perimeter, weapons active, shields humming like angry hives. Sithrek's image shimmered across Alara's screen. Welcome to the end of understanding, he said. She raised an eyebrow. Planning to go in? I do not plan. I obey instinct, and it tells me this must be faced. Together, they led the joint fleet into the void. The Hollow Pulse didn't attack. It didn't repel. It invited. A subtle pull like gravity blended with memory. As the fleet moved deeper, images began to flicker across their ships' internal displays. Visions tailored to each species. Earth officers saw Earth as it might have been, scorched, abandoned, crumbling under ash. Then visions of impossible cities, towering and bright, gleaming beneath unknown constellations. Hallucinations, or projections, or previews. Reyes clutched the edge of his console. I don't think this is a weapon. Alara stood still, cold realization spreading. It's not a machine. No, it's a test. Sithrek's voice rang through the comms. It watches us, judges not our strength, but our intent. And just then, something responded. The pulse rippled inward, coalescing into shape. A being emerged, neither biological nor mechanical, but a hybrid construct of knowledge and gravity, emotion and code. It had no face, yet its presence pressed into every mind. You carry violence well, the voice echoed inside them. But violence is not resilience. You endure, but do you understand why? The fleets froze. No one moved, no one fired. The being hovered above them, vast and soundless. Alara stepped forward, heart thunderous but steady. We endure because we must. Because if we don't, no one will remember the names of those who tried. The being pulsed with light, spoken like survivors. But survival without purpose becomes repetition. What will you become beyond this trial? She didn't look away. We don't know yet, but we're not afraid to find out. A pause, then silence. The Hollow Pulse collapsed inward, vanishing into a pinpoint of light, and was gone. In its place, stillness. No anomaly, no rift, just open space, cleared and navigable. The joint fleet floated quietly, the tension folding into something else. Wonder. Sithrek said nothing, but Alara knew he felt it too. Humanity hadn't just proven they could survive deep space. They'd been seen, and perhaps, just perhaps, accepted.